President of the Confederation of African Football, Patrice Motsepe, says improving the standard of refereeing is one of their major focal points as Africa's football controlling body. This comes in the wake of an appeal lodged by the South African Football Association following alleged poor officiating and suspected match fixing in the recent 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifier between the Black Stars of Ghana and Bafana Bafana. CAF and the World Football governing body FIFA have been approved the use of VAR in the final playoff round of Africa's qualifiers next month. Meanwhile, CAF has also confirmed that the use of VAR in next year's Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Cameroon. Our reporter Sfiso Ramara caught up with Motsepe at the 13th CAF Extraordinary General Assembly in Cairo, Egypt.
President, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. I mean, you've been president for what, 8 months now, your first General Assembly. How is life going within CAF?
Well, we have to make sure that African football competes against the best in the world, and it's world class and does well. And of course, what happens on the field of play determines whether you've won or not. But there's factors that are very important, like the quality of the football pitches that we play on, the quality of the stadiums, the infrastructure, the financial resources that is required to pay players very, very well, and to help the member associations, meaning the football administration in every country in Africa. And also to make sure that the big partnership we concluded on referees, to train African referees, pay them well, let them be trained by the best in the world, to make sure that the results are credible, introduce more VAR. And then, of course, what we've done is there were problems in the past about the auditing, the governance, and the transparency in CAF, and good progress has been made. But in total, there's work we've got to do off the pitch, which is very crucial, and there's also a lot of investments like schools football. You know, the Motsepe Foundation donated $10 million to African football, to African schools football, because that's a big investment in the future of African football. And also the academies for boys and for girls, and to make sure that this exceptional talent that we know that exists in the continent can result in young boys and girls building a future from football, getting good money, making a living out of football, and make sure that the football administrators also have got resources to run their offices and run football in each of the 54 countries as well as on the continent.
In your election manifesto, you had 10 points. From those points, what are your priorities?
Well, what I've said to you, I think African football will, to a large extent, acquire the respect it deserves when we win the World Cup. We have to dream big. We've got to aim high. We've got to set big objectives for ourselves. And it may not happen in the short term, but the talent is there to say that once the world recognizes that a nation from Africa is the best in the world, because we've produced some of the best players over many, many years. Sadio Mane, Mo Salah, Drogba, Eto'o, George Weah, the list goes on, Okongo, the list goes on and on. And so in terms of our performances on the field, because, you know, we compete with countries where they've got much, much more resources. They've got world-class infrastructure. They've got world-class academies. They've got huge amounts of financial income that they get from TV rights and from sponsors, and that's why one of the focuses on my side was to make sure that we get the private sector more involved in each of the countries in Africa, because they make money from those countries, and it's good for them to give back and to sponsor football, and also to build better ties between the governments of each African country and the governments of each African country to also support football and work together with the football administrators in those countries.
You played alongside the FIFA president, Mr. Gianni Infantino, last night. What kind of a relationship do you have with FIFA as African football?
Well, let me tell you, I have to work with China, I have to work with America, I have to work with South America, I have to work with Europe, I have to work with FIFA, because I need all of these partners to give resources. And we've just signed a big deal for FIFA to train our referees, African referees, to make sure that these African referees, our referees that we've got confidence in, can and that we pay well, can also officiate in some of the top football games in FIFA, in the World Cup. So Gianni, as the president of FIFA, has really been most supportive, it's very, very important, because FIFA is our mother body, and he and FIFA is one of the key partners that we need to make sure that African football becomes self-supporting, self-sustaining, and ensure that we can hold our own. And we remain in control of our future and our destiny.
How far are we as a continent in terms of introducing VAR full scale? I mean, we all saw what happened in the recent 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifiers.
There should be no tolerance as far as, and no patience, in fact, as far as the introduction of VAR is concerned. And this is one of the emergency issues, to make sure that not a single major football game takes place in Africa without VAR. And that's one of the positive elements of this partnership, is that we are getting officials, we're getting people, training them more, and introducing quite urgently what is referred to as light VAR. But you should lose because the other club or the other team was a better team on the day, and you should not lose because some mistakes were made, and of course referees are human, they make mistakes, and the VAR will help, but the proper training will assist immensely, world-class training.
What is your standpoint with regards to the increase of teams from 32 to 48 in the World Cup, as well as playing the World Cup every second year?
You see, you must understand, the days when Africa is not treated fairly and adequately and appropriately, those days are over. It's gone. That's the past. We engage, and we do so politely and with respect, but we've got a clear understanding that there must be a fundamental change in terms of the participation of African clubs in the World Cup, and also in terms of making sure that there's greater involvement, greater recognition. The World Cup every 2 years is a key component of that, because if you've got the World Cup every 2 years, it will contribute to the improvement in the quality of African football, as well as greater financial resources for all of the 54 nations in Africa. And the Super League that we took a resolution to implement will also generate income, revenue, and that revenue will not just be shared amongst those countries that have got clubs in the Super League, but also those that do not have clubs. Because part of the duty of all of us in Africa, not just in football, but overall, that we've got to help those who are less fortunate, who are more in need, who are marginalized. And so it's part of the obligation we have in everything we do, to develop the whole of the continent, and also to assist those that need more assistance, more help, and more encouragement than the others.
Are we going to see an African country winning the World Cup soon?
Well, I think that has to be your objective and my objective, and the talent is there. It just requires proper training, proper support, proper resources, both tactically as far as strategies are concerned. But part of the secret as well is focus on the youth, invest in the youth. The results, whether it's in football or in business, that are really worthwhile, don't happen overnight. So we've got to take a medium to long-term perspective and invest in our youth. That's why the schools football, the academies, for both girls and boys, are a critical part of making sure that we prepare ourselves to have an African club that will not just be in the finals of the World Cup, but that will make us proud and win the World Cup.
Thank you to Sfiso Ramara.